passend zum Thema des Rolex-Trader-Videos habe ich ein Video gefunden, was möglicherweise eine neue Option für uns sein könnte, an neues Geld heranzukommen. Und zwar How to make $1 billion on Horse Racing. 1 Milliarde, davon könnten wir auch die eine oder andere Rolex kaufen. Deswegen dachte ich, das wäre ein ganz gutes Thema und wir schauen gemeinsam rein.
The Happy Valley in the Hong Kong Jockey Club. It's kind of a mecca for horse racing. People there bet more in terms of their income than almost anywhere else on the planet. In 2001, a very large jackpot had built up, roughly $20 million US. 1 million people placed a wager on the Triple Trio for that race.
Nicht 1 Million Euro wurden gesetzt oder 1 Million Dollar. 1 Million Personen haben Geld auf dieses Rennen gesetzt. Okay, was ist das für ein Rennen?
That's equivalent to about 1 in 7 of the population of Hong Kong at the time.
Jeder Siebte in Hongkong hat gesetzt?
Last leg of the Triple Trio and away they go.
The Triple Trio is 3 races, the top 3 finishers, in any order, in all 3 races. The odd is something like 10 million to 1.
Okay, also basically Lotto. Man setzt darauf, okay, es gibt 12 Pferde, 3 Rennen und man sucht sich 9 Pferde aus, die in jedem Rennen unter den Top 3 sind. Habe ich das richtig verstanden?
The top 3 finishers, in any order, in all 3 races. The odd is something like 10 million to 1.
Bobo Duck in front, Mascot's fighting back.
Okay, man setzt nicht auf 3 Pferde, die in jedem Rennen gewinnen müssen, sondern man setzt darauf, dass 3 Pferde von den 12, die an den Start gehen, unter den Top 3 sind. Ob das, was man dann auf Platz 1 gesetzt hat, wirklich auf Platz 1 ist oder auf Platz 3 oder in welcher Reihenfolge auch immer, ist egal. Und das ist eine 1 zu 10 Millionen Chance? Gut, aber dann ist es ja basically Lotto.
Bobo in front and there's the training double for Derek Cruz.
No one came forward to claim the prize. The winner was an American professional gambler. At that point he was making so much money.
Professional Gambler.
From his gambling activities that it didn't matter to him. This is the story of a shy computer nerd who came up with a system to beat horse racing and made $1 billion.
Das ist genau das, was ich liebe. Der hat wahrscheinlich nicht einfach nur richtig gesetzt und dann dadurch gewonnen, sondern der hat irgendein System gefunden, irgendeine Lücke gefunden, die er nutzen konnte.
My name's Kit Shillel. I'm a reporter for Bloomberg and a writer for Business Week. The fundamental unfairness of sports betting is that over a period of time you will almost always lose. If you make a lot of bets, gambling, sports betting is slanted against you as a punter, as a gambler.
Ja, das ist der gute alte negative Erwartungswert und das Gefühl, schlauer zu sein als die anderen, schlauer zu sein als die Quote, das besser einschätzen zu können als der Spielmacher, besser zu schätzen als Tipico, besser zu schätzen als B-Win, was langfristig nicht der Fall ist. Auch unter meinem Sportwetten-Video unendlich viele Kommentare. Wie willst du auch davon ausgehen zu gewinnen, wenn du diese Spiele setzt? Ja, war klar, dass du verlierst, wenn du da keine Ahnung von hast. Und jeder, der diesen Kommentar geschrieben hat, hat gezeigt, dass er das System nicht verstanden hat. Das System macht nur Sinn, wenn jeder verliert, außer die Spielbank. Du kannst mehr Ahnung von Fußball haben. Du kannst mehr Ahnung als, weiß ich nicht wer haben. Aber das System funktioniert nur, wenn du 1000 Mal richtig gelegen hast und beim 1001. Mal halt falsch. Wenn du anfängst, dich zu überschätzen.
Bill Benter decided to beat that system.
He just became captivated with this idea that these games, which supposedly casinos had this long-standing advantage, you could actually beat with the right methods. I'm Adam Kucharski, I'm a mathematician and science writer. When he was younger, he saw a sign in Atlantic City that said card counters are banned from our games. And for him, that sign basically said card counting must work. He picked up a book by Ed Thorpe called Beat the Dealer, which outlined the fundamentals of card counting.
Boah, Kartenzählen, übelst das geile System. Gibt's einen sehr, sehr geilen Film zu. 21 oder 21. Mashallah. Kann man sich gut angucken und einer der wenigen Filme, die ich empfehlen kann.
Looking for how many high or low cards have emerged and how many might remain in the pack. If you think there's a high chance that there are lots of high cards left in the pack, that changes the odds in your favor. Lots of people went and tried card counting. Bill was more successful than most, managed to make some money and make a career out of it.
Ha, da ist er wohl.
With Alan Woods, an Australian professional gambler. But as is always the problem with professional gamblers, casinos don't like people who win, and they were systematically excluded from all the major casinos around Vegas. So they needed to find a new game. Alan Woods was interested in horse racing, and between them they talked about it and became attracted to the betting scene in Asia, and in particular the Hong Kong Jockey Club, where they were aware there was this huge horse racing market they might be able to tap into.
Da habe ich noch nie Berührungspunkte mit gehabt. Pferderennen, Alter. Manchmal finanziert sich die Spielbank aber auch von den Unwissenden und die Wissenden werden trotzdem im Großen und Ganzen belohnt. Nein, Erwartungswert ist negativ. Das bedeutet, egal was du setzt.
One of the reasons that Hong Kong has a big advantage if you're trying to use mathematical and statistical methods is it's almost like a laboratory for studying horse racing. In Hong Kong, you've got 2 race courses that dominate. You've got a huge amount of betting activity, you've got a pool of about 1,000 horses, you've got hundreds of races a year. So if you're designing something that's going to generate reasonably consistent data to study these patterns, Hong Kong is the place that you want to go.
So they sent Alan Woods to Hong Kong, and he came back with all the results of racing in Hong Kong going back 5-10 years, I think.
Ja, das ist unvorstellbar. Damals mussten Leute nach Hongkong fliegen, um die scheiß Daten zu sammeln. Ja, heute gehst du online und ziehst dir die Daten einfach.
And they manually fed that into a very basic early computer to try and create a statistical model. They fed the numbers into their computer. It took them a long time. It took them about 9 months.
So what they would do is use these measures of horses' quality and come up with a prediction for each horses in a given race, their chances of winning. And then they would compare that to what the odds on the board implied those horses' chance of winning. And what you want is a horse where the odds imply it has a very low chance, but your model says it has a pretty decent chance.
Quasi sowas wie Arbitrage-Betting oder so, was meiner Meinung nach auch die einzige Möglichkeit ist, sicher in irgendeiner Weise Geld mit Sportwetten zu verdienen. Und das ist auch nicht sicher, weil dich die verschiedenen Firmen irgendwann kicken und du nicht mehr spielen darfst. Arbitrage funktioniert folgendermaßen: Man setzt auf beide Seiten, möglicherweise bei verschiedenen Anbietern, und kann dadurch die Odds auf seine Seite holen, quasi sicher gewinnen, wenn die Spielbanken einen nicht raushauen.
In the course of researching the story, I spoke to gambling experts. They said it was impossible, couldn't be done. If you bet long enough on horses, you will lose money. There are lots of factors that go into a horse winning or not. The favourite doesn't always win. In his first year of betting, I think he lost $150,000. It had all sorts of glitches because their data wasn't perfect.
Uff, man muss ja aber viel Kapital gehabt haben, um danach noch vernünftig weitermachen zu können und sehr an seine Theorie geglaubt haben.
The fact that the jockey club takes a 15-17% cut makes it harder to be sustainably profitable. It means you have to be not just better than the market, but you need to be about 20% better than the market to start making a profit. In a pari-mutuel system, in this case the Hong Kong Jockey Club, the odds are determined by the action. So the number of people betting on each particular horse and the sums they bet determine the odds.
And what they did alongside developing predictions was find ways of really carefully trickling their money into the market. If there's a certain amount in the pot and you go and put a huge amount on a particular horse, you're actually going to affect how much money you can make back because you're going to swing the market so much towards a particular horse.
Eventually he came to incorporate the public odds into his model, and that was a huge breakthrough for him. He'd worked out that the individual decisions of 1 million punters in Hong Kong were actually a fairly accurate predictor of a horse's chance of success.
Krass. Das bedeutet, die Leute, die gesetzt haben, waren eigentlich ziemlich genau damit, wie sie gesetzt haben. Das würde ja eigentlich dann sich negativ auf das System von denen auswirken.
Bill Benter has been betting for a few years in Hong Kong and he's starting to make serious money, enough that he can hire employees to place bets over the phone for him. He buys a load of computers, he hires a nice office.
It was really operating like a business, and much like you'd see the sort of actions in a modern hedge fund, in that they were accumulating really good data.
Der hat sich Angestellte geholt, ein Office, neue Computer gekauft und einfach alles so gemacht wie ein komplett normales Unternehmen. Aber hat einfach auf fucking Pferderennen gesetzt. Das hört sich irgendwie nicht so vernünftig an, aber wenn wir dem Titel Glauben schenken, dann wird er ja wohl noch 1 Milliarde damit verdienen.
They were analyzing that data and then they were developing predictions that they could act on. And really, the nature of this business for these syndicates, it wasn't that they were placing your bet and then celebrating. It was just almost a systematic trading role where they were expecting to make money over time.
One day he gets contacted by the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and as a professional gambler who's worked in Vegas, I think he assumed it was going to be bad news. They might try and kick him off the betting pool, and instead they said, "You're one of our best customers. What can we do to make your life better?"
LOL. You're one of our best customers, what can we do for you? Würde ja bedeuten, dass sie viel Geld an ihm verdient hätten. Aber vielleicht sind die einfach danach gegangen, wie viel Geld er reingesetzt hat, weil sie davon ausgegangen sind, dass er langfristig Geld verlieren wird. Und kriegt jetzt wahrscheinlich noch mehr Vorteile, um sein Business komplett auszubauen. Digga.
Because they take a percentage of the total betting pool. The more
Stimmt, die verdienen halt einfach Marge. Jando hat's geschrieben. Die kriegen wahrscheinlich einfach 50 € pro Wette, die der setzt. Über 1000 $ oder so. Ja, easy.
computer bettors there are, and the more money they're betting, the more profit they make. Bill wanted a computer, and they gave him one. They gave him something called the Customer Input Terminal, and it allowed him to stop having to have employees pick up the phone, spend 10-20 seconds each time placing a bet. He could do it in a fraction of a second. So it allowed him to make more bets. The more bets you make, the more likely it is that your edge pays off. So when he was suddenly able to make thousands upon thousands of bets at the click of a button, it dramatically increased his profitability.
Digga, what the fuck?
There grew this kind of sub-industry of specialists. I don't think that the Hong Kong betting public had broad awareness that there were computer experts using statistical modelling to bet in the same pools that they were. They simply weren't well known, they never appeared in the press, no one knew the name Bill Benter. The amount of money that was coming out of the pool and going to computer teams just grew and grew and grew and grew. The computer betting teams got too good. They were making too much money, they were making so much money. The Jockey Club saw what was happening and they realised that if word got out that these specialist computer teams, foreign owned and run, were siphoning money out of the betting pool to the detriment of the average bettor, it might discourage people from going to the racetrack and making bets.
Klar, wenn die Normalos wissen, ey, okay, wir werden hier die ganze Zeit von jemandem abgezogen, der uns systematisch abzieht, warum soll ich da noch betten? So, der ist ja eh klar, dass er mein Geld nimmt. Ich meine, das hätte ihnen auch vorher klar sein können, weil sie wetten, aber...
Abruptly cut off Bill Benter. But then this record jackpot came along. I think they made 50,000 bets, they spent well over $1 million Hong Kong dollars. They went into it deciding that even if they won, they weren't going to claim the money. They almost did it to test how good their model was by this point.
So they come up to the home bends and Zero Faith trying to make all. Mascot Treasure goes to him now.
Does Bill Benter fit into the stereotype of a professional gambler? No, hardly at all.
Mascot Treasure got to the front and kicked a length clear.
He had more than 30 winning combinations, but he had one single winning ticket that correctly predicted all 9 placed finishes. And that was the one that had the big payout.
Er hat komplett richtig geraten. 10 Millionen oder was haben die am Anfang gesagt?
Mascot fighting back. Bobo in front of this.
There's a purity about what he did. You know, he was faced with a technical, numerical challenge. His job was to beat the odds in horse racing. And the way he did it was applying science to this problem in a way that most gambling people don't. He's still working away at that problem. You know, the algorithm is constantly evolving and changing and improving. And Bill was really one of the first people to apply computing power and technology to a system of odds making. But that practice is now spread all over the world, not just by bettors but by bookmakers too. So in a sense he transformed the industry. His obsession is...
Der sieht auch aus wie jemand, der auf Pferderennen setzt.
The science of gambling and probability. And to this day it's...
Naja, der hat halt auf mehrere gewettet. Ja, aber die haben gerade eben gesagt, dass es eine Chance von 1 zu 10 Millionen ist. Der hat 30 Scheine gemacht, also 30 zu 10 Millionen. Das ist immer noch sehr unwahrscheinlich. 1 zu 300.000. Wenn ich nicht komplett falsch liege. Unfassbar nices Video, sehr, sehr geiles Thema. Für uns wahrscheinlich ein bisschen schwierig in der heutigen Zeit anzuwenden, deswegen vielleicht auch nichts für Rolex Trade-Up Video. Es hat aber eine Menge Spaß gemacht. Wenn ihr auch eine Menge Spaß hattet, lasst mir gerne ein Like da. Vergesst nicht, den Kanal zu abonnieren, denn hier kommen tägliche Uploads und wir sehen uns morgen wieder. Tschüss!